Let's be clear, I'm literally the smartest programmer that has ever lived, okay?
Terry A. Davis. At first glance, just a normal programmer from the late 20th century, but his story lies somewhere between raw genius and complete madness. After college, he had every opportunity to become the next tech visionary. Instead, Terry claimed he began receiving direct instructions from God himself. One of those instructions was simple but impossible to ignore. Build me a temple. Not a temple of stone, but an operating system. After a decade-long one-man odyssey, the result was the TempleOS, or 120,000 lines of code, written entirely by Terry. A computer engineer once compared it to a single man building an entire skyscraper by hand. And so the question remains, was Terry A. Davis the most brilliant programmer who ever lived? Or a prophet, trapped in his own mind? Terry was born in December 1969 in a quiet Wisconsin suburb. From the beginning, he didn't quite fit in. Throughout a gifted program in elementary school, he discovered the Apple II computer. While most kids were memorizing multiplication tables, Terry was already exploring the hidden logic of machines. As a teenager, he dove into assembly language on the Commodore 64, a world where even the wrong character could collapse everything. By 1994, he had a master's in electrical engineering and a job at Ticketmaster, coding while the internet was still being born. Everything pointed toward a groundbreaking career. But in 1996, everything changed. Terry suffered a psychotic break and was admitted to a psychiatric ward. From then on, his life became a cycle of mania and paranoia. That the radios carried hidden codes, that strangers were watching him from the shadows. One day, he believed that his car was communicating with him throughout the radio. He abandoned the car in the desert. When a police officer offered him a ride, Terry jumped out of the moving vehicle and shattered his collarbone. Later, after overhearing doctors mention artifacts on his X-ray, instead he heard alien implants. He escaped the hospital, tried to hijack a truck, and landed in jail instantly. In prison, he tried to stick his glasses into the electrical outlet. It failed, the frames couldn't conduct electricity. From that point forward, Terry's life was no longer defined by resumes and career prospects, but by relentless battle with schizophrenia. In the early 2000s, Terry believed God gave him a mission to build a digital temple. According to him, God dictated the specs: 640 to 480 resolution, only 16 colors could be used, no GPU acceleration, as graphic operations should be transparent, not hidden in a GPU, according to Terry Davis. Single voice, 8-bit MIDI-like sample for sound, single address mapping, as paging is not used, no networking, so malware is not an issue, no encryption or passwords. Files are compressed, not encrypted. And so he began. He even created his own programming language. He named it Holy C, a strange but powerful fusion of C and C++. Every part of TempleOS, from the kernel to its games, was written in it. The system even included the oracle. Press a key and a random word would appear. For most, nonsense. For Terry, literal voice of God. TempleOS came with 22 games pre-installed, a 3D flight simulator,
So I am the smartest programmer that has ever lived.
a music editor, even a custom file format that embedded hypertext and 3D models inside plain text. And the crazy part is, the entire OS fit under 2 megabytes, yet it contained a whole world, hand-built by one man. TempleOS wasn't just code, it was Terry's genius, his faith and his illness combined into the silicon. When the TempleOS was released, no one could believe it. It wasn't practical, it wasn't modern, but it was staggering proof that a single programmer could still bend a machine entirely to his will. In an era when software was increasingly corporate and sterile, TempleOS felt holy in its own bizarre way. But the Terry himself soon became the real spectacle. On YouTube, he streamed for hours, seamlessly shifting from deep technical insight to furious rants about the CIA, demons, or neighbors spying on him through the walls. He said racial and homophobic slurs without pause.
Hell no, I'm a white man. I wrote my own fucking compiler. I'm not a nigger like Linus. I'm a professional.
Making him infamous. And yet, hidden in between the chaos were flashes of brilliance that mesmerized programmers worldwide. Clips spread across forums, YouTube, and now on TikTok. Terry became a meme, and to some a prophet. Even major tech channels like Linus Tech Tips and Fireship reference TempleOS, cementing its place as an unlikely piece of internet legend. But behind the spectacle, Terry was falling apart. By 2017, he was homeless, wandering with a backpack, still coding, still chasing his divine mission. But the world had moved on. He had no job, no support, no safety net. And then, in August 2018, it ended. Terry A. Davis was struck and killed by a Union Pacific train in Dalles, Oregon. Witnesses saw him walking along the tracks back to the train. Just moments before impact, he turned his head. Then it was over. Accident or choice? No one can ever say for sure, but the train engineer who watched it unfold believed Terry knew exactly what he was doing. When the news broke, the internet community that once laughed at him was shaken. The man they memed was gone. Tributes flooded social media, artwork, code, music, all honoring the same man. Terry A. Davis was many things, a prophet in his own mind. His creation, TempleOS, remains one of the most astonishing feats ever accomplished by a single developer. And in his own words, perhaps his legacy is best left in his voice. What people are going to read is about pathetic schizophrenic who made a crappy operating system. My perspective is, God said I made his temple. I would like to say special thanks to a channel called Olensis. His work inspired this whole project and motivated me to finally create something of my own. This was my first video on this channel, and if you would like to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks.